Good morning. Thanks for joining today's webinar, Conflict Monitor Testing and Why It's So Important. My name is Connor and I'll be your moderator. Before we get going here, just a few housekeeping items to run through. All phone lines are muted. If you have any questions, please use the chat feature within your GoToWebinar toolbar. Today's presentation will last about 40 minutes or so, giving us time for questions at the end. By attending today's webinar, you are eligible to earn TARP points through IMSA. For those of you who provided your IMSA number during the registration process, Western Systems will go ahead and handle that for you. And lastly, today's webinar will be made available anytime on demand. You'll get an email with a link to do so tomorrow. All right, with the housekeeping out of the way, I'm excited to introduce today's presenters. Kenneth Gustat, Territory Manager, Western Systems, and Ben Hartley from ATSI. Guys, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Connor. Appreciate it. My name is Kenneth Gustat. I'm one of the Southern California Territory Managers. I just want to thank everyone for joining us in this event. I hope you find it useful. Since we do have some new people joining the presentation, I'd just like to take a couple minutes to give a quick overview of Western Systems. We are a distributor and a manufacturer, but Western Systems, we assist agencies to solve traffic and congestion problems. We're headquartered in Everett, Washington, been around about 20 years. That picture there that you see is our new 30,000 square foot manufacturing and headquarters. Got about 60 employees, and we do service the West Coast. So that would be Alaska, Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and California. We are a proven market leader, but we do have a broad product portfolio. Now, as someone who's relatively new to Western Systems, I've only been with the company about 16 months or so, I can tell you it is a unique company, and in a good way. One of the things I really like about it is family owned, which makes us very nimble. So if I need to give the owner a call to push something over the hill, I have that capability. I mean, with over 20 years of experience, we have a depth of talent and resources that is truly unrivaled in the industry. We are a one-stop shop that can provide innovation and custom solutions. But I think the most important thing about Western Systems is the culture. I have never worked with a more passionate, dedicated, and most importantly, a fun team. I think that's why Western Systems has such great success. They really understand their customers, and they always go the extra mile. So on the manufacturing side, Western Systems, we do manufacture our cabinets, in-house in Everett, Washington. So we can do 333 series cabinets, ATC, we do P for NEMA. We even have a patented P plus cabinet. So if you'll see here, you'll actually see the battery backup system is built into the cabinet, separated from all your other hardware. And then you even have a separate door to access those batteries, keeping those batteries away. So very unique to Western Systems. Additionally, we also have a patented dual load bay. It's literally 1/3 the size of a typical load bay, so it can give you all that additional real estate. So we're always kind of thinking of ways to make our equipment better. And we do custom cabinets. So, for example, the city of Anaheim, rather than use this for a battery backup system, we custom built a fiber hub for them there. Now, we are truly made in the U.S., so all our manufacturing is here in the U.S. I believe right now Western Systems is the only traffic cabinet manufacturing still in production at this time. Now, at Western Systems, we work with a lot of partners. We provide everything in the intersections, but we make sure we partner with best of breed manufacturers. So, for example, controllers and networking, we work with Siemens. Battery backup, it's Alpha. I mean, you name it. So signage, signals, cameras, video management software. So there's a lot going on in that intersection, all these different components. So our job is really to help you connect those dots. That's why I'm extremely excited to have Ben Hartley join us today. He's actually bringing 21 years of experience in the traffic link at ATSI alone. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and hand the presentation over to you, Ben. So let me go ahead and change presenter here. Okay, you should have it, sir.
Okay, are we good?
Yes, great.
Okay, and am I showing the correct screen?
You are, sir. Take it away, Ben.
Okay. Alrighty. Yes, first I'd like to thank Western Systems for having me. As Kenneth said, I work for ATSI. It's the long version of the name is Athens Technical Specialists Incorporated, but most people know us as ATSI or ATSI. We manufacture test equipment for traffic signal devices. We have a tester for most devices found in a traffic cabinet. Since 1999, we've been located in a single building in Athens, Ohio. We've been manufacturing and selling test equipment since 1988. We started at the incubation center in nearby Ohio University. I started as a technician here in 1999, and I've been just doing sales since 2007. A little bit more about our products. The testers that we have are designed to test to the accepted standards, not makes or models. This covers NEMA TS1, NEMA TS2, Caltrans, otherwise known as 170, and the newest ATCC standards. We do not manufacture or resell any of the devices that we test, the monitors or the load switches or anything like that, to avoid conflicts of interest. And why you should test. Typically, there's not a law that requires a responsible agency to test their monitors, nor is there a law that requires traffic signals to be maintained at any certain frequency every 6 months, every year, every 2 years, etc. Some states and municipalities have their own recommendations. Get to the next slide here. The Pennsylvania DOT publication guidelines for the maintenance and operation of traffic signals does specify, sorry, I'm a little behind here on the slides. You can see here it says test conflict monitor yearly by a computerized conflict monitor tester. This is the state's recommendations. And that publication can be found on the web by searching PennDOT publication 191 or on the Pennsylvania DOT website. For our product line, I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry, I lost my place here. Many monitor manufacturers recommend yearly testing. If you look in the inside cover of the manual of most conflict monitors, it will say we recommend that you test this monitor yearly. In my opinion, that's the best reason to test. If you're in a court of law, it's hard to argue against the manufacturer's recommendations. The MUTCD says it should be as frequently as experience proves necessary. And again, we talked about the PennDOT publication. ATSI recommends that monitors be tested annually based on all of these other considerations. And all that together makes a compelling case that you should conform to what's commonly referred to as the known standard of care. Some analogies here. The act of monitor testing is akin to the act of maintaining home insurance. Just because your home hasn't ever caught fire, you wouldn't cancel your home insurance. Just because there's never been a problem with an intersection that you're aware of, you wouldn't use that as a reason to not test your conflict monitor. A monitor in a traffic cabinet is analogous to a smoke detector in your home. Untested, you may not know there's a problem until it fails to detect the smoke. Again, it's the same kind of idea where, yeah, you can have a smoke detector in your home and never test it, and you won't know it's doing you no good until the house burns down. The cost of rebuilding a home without insurance can quickly add up. So too can a negligence tort defense with no record of maintenance. So, if you do have a problem with an intersection, yeah, there is a cost involved with yearly testing. It takes time and it takes equipment. But if you're in a situation where you do get sued and you do not have a record of maintaining that signal, that can be easily used to prove that that you were negligent. Why the tester should be calibrated. This goes back to why you should be testing in the first place. Regular calibration ensures the tester is operating correctly. The reason we want you to send many of our testers back every year for calibration is so that we can verify that it is doing its job correctly. Without the assurance of regular calibration, your tester results can be suspect. If you haven't calibrated your tester in years and there's a problem with the intersection, and someone comes to you and says, okay, let me see your test reports, and then let me see your calibration reports for the tester, that can throw the tester into, even if you send the tester to us after the fact and we calibrate it or check it and say, yes, it's still within spec, that can still be used as a suspect. And again, that can goes back to the known standard of care that you would be failing to uphold. The Pen.ep publication that I referenced earlier, it also recommends yearly calibration. Here in this section, I've highlighted in red again. To assure the reliability of the computerized monitor tester, a calibration of the unit is to be done annually. Now for our product line. Our flagship products are the conflict monitor tester, because that is where your liability for the intersection lies. Most anything else in a cabinet can go wrong. Your load switch can fail, your surge suppressor can fail, all this stuff can happen, but the conflict monitor should be catching that and not allowing a dangerous condition to occur. So that makes the conflict monitor the king in this situation. The MMU or the CMU is the most relevant protection against unwanted or unsafe traffic cabinet operation. If you only test one device in a cabinet, if you don't care about anything else in there, you should be testing the monitor. And currently we have two different monitor testers. The PCMT 8000 is the latest in a long line of testers, going all the way back to 1988, when we just started with NEMA TS1. Later, NEMA TS2 was added, and then after that, Caltrans. We used to have separate models for each one. Currently, one tester can do all those models. You can see there's some connectors on the front. We have different cables for connecting whatever types of monitors you have. The monitors tend to have different connectors on them, or they're in a different format completely, such as the Caltrans or 170 style. So we can get you whatever cables you need for that. The second tester we have, which is new, this has only been around for a couple of years now, is the ACMT 5000. This tester is for the ATC Cabinet conflict monitor. We had to create an entirely new tester because the architecture of the cabinet and all the devices in it are drastically different from NEMA and Caltrans. It's a little simpler because it's just a single unit. There's no other form factor for the conflict monitor. So we were able to make it so that you just slide the conflict monitor directly into the tester. No cables are needed. If you find that you have, if you currently have NEMA cabinets or Caltrans cabinets and you're switching over to the ATC cabinets, which seems to be the future, you will need two testers at this time for that, just for the conflict monitors. If you only have a few cabinets, we can do testing service for you. If you only have a couple of ATC cabinets, you can send us your monitors. We'll test them here and send them back. And that way you don't have to mess with, buying an entire tester until, you've gotten into the realm where it makes it feasible. The next group of products is our inductive loop testing kit and the quick check detector tester. The Hilt kit, it includes a inductive loop tester, handheld inductive loop tester. It includes a megometer for testing the wire insulation. The inductive loop tester will test the inductance and the quality of the loop and all that kind of stuff. We also include a loop finder, which is the smallest device you see in the back there with a little circle of LEDs. That's used for finding loops that have been paved over, so that they're not visible from the outside. And it includes all the clips that you might need for that. We also, it's shown here in the carrying case that we have for it. If you order the tester, it will come in this case. All the parts fit in there, and keeps them all safe and together. The other product here is the quick check detector tester. This will do both shelf units. You can see the green MS connectors there for plugging into the either 2 or 4 channel detector. You can also see there's a slot there for the Caltrans style that you can plug in. And the quick check basically is just for checking and setting the sensitivity levels on the detector. If you're not sure if your detector if the sensitivity is measuring correctly as it should, if it's not measuring down at the motorcycle level, you can plug it in here and very quickly check it. There's no software for this. There's no computers involved. It's all just push button. Same thing with the Hilt. There's no software involved. It just gives you a reading like a meter would. The next group of products deals just with TS2, NEMA TS2. The first one here is the TS2 Virtual Cabinet. This device mimics a TS2 cabinet, all the components except for the controller. So you can connect this to your controller, and through the software, you can operate the controller. There's a virtual MMU. Excuse me, there are virtual BIUs and detectors. And we recently added a new feature where in another panel of the software, you can draw a graphic representation of your intersection. It's a drag and drop. You can add lights, you can add turn lanes, you can add railway crossings, preemption, all that stuff. And as you run your controller, you can watch the screen and you can see the lights go on and off in sequence. And you can also label them as you wish. Pardon me just a moment. Sorry, I had to cough. Next is the device we call the TS2 Frame Grabber. And here it's shown in an optional carrying case. It's the same hard shell case as the inductive loop tester kit. It just happens to be that all the components fit in there. The frame grabber would get installed in your cabinet. It comes with an SDLC cable. And the idea is that you would remove one SDLC cable from somewhere in your cabinet, wherever you wish, plug it into the frame grabber, and then use the supplied SDLC cable to go back to where you unplug the other one. The frame grabber would remain in the cabinet, recording the frames as they pass through the SDLC line. When there's a problem and the intersection goes into flash, it will dump all of the frame data onto a memory key. You can see it sticking out of the front there in the shot where it's installed in the cabinet. And in the case on the left, we have a memory token reader. What you would do is you'd remove the memory key, put it in the reader, And using our software, you can then sort through the frames and find out what sequence of events occurred that led up to the signal going into flash. The other way you can do it is there's a button on the front of the unit called force trigger. If you hit that, that will force it to dump all the data to the memory key. And also you can, through the power cable, which is supplied with it, you can also connect that to what's commonly called the cop switch. So if the cop comes and puts his key in and puts the intersection into flash, it'll dump the data there as well. I'm sorry, I did not get a screenshot of the TS2 frame grabber software. I'm just realizing that would have been a nice thing to have. But if you need any information, this is all on our website. We do have screenshots and stuff if you're more curious as to what that looks like. And moving on, we have load switch, transfer relay, flasher, and switch pack testing. The MST 700 on the bottom right there will do load switches, transfer relays, and flashers found in NEMA TS1, NEMA TS2, and Caltrans cabinets. The ASPT 5300 in the upper left, that will test the switch packs that are found in the ATC cabinets. Don't know if any of you are very familiar with the ATC cabinets, but they've changed some of the duties for some of the devices. The switch pack is similar to a load switch in a NEMA cabinet, except for the important difference of it also measures channel voltages. So that used to be a job of the conflict monitor in a NEMA cabinet. This means that if you have an ATC cabinet, in order to test your monitor, you really should be testing the CMU, which would require the ACMT 5000 that I showed earlier at the beginning of the slides. And you should also be testing the switch packs. If any of you are familiar with testing, you know that one of the most important parts of testing the conflict monitor is the channel voltages, making sure the lights are on or off at the proper voltages. If you're not testing the switch pack, you're not testing that in the ATC cabinet. So unfortunately, this means that where you used to be able to just use the PCMT 8000 to do your conflict monitor testing, in the ATC cabinet, you really need two devices. You will need to test the CMU and you'll need to test the switch pack. If you don't, it's pretty much equivalent to running a test on a NEMA TS2 monitor, for instance, and skipping all of the channel voltages, which would be highly dangerous to do. The MST 700, it'll do all three of those devices, the load switch, the transfer relay, and the flasher. I believe the transfer relay and the flasher are the same in the ATC cabinet. It's just the load switch is now called a switch pack, and it has more jobs to do in the ATC cabinet. The next product I have is the traffic recorder tester. Most of our customers who deal with conflict monitoring, conflict monitors and traffic cabinets don't often also deal with traffic counting, but we do have some that overlap. This is the only device we have for recording or for testing a traffic recorder. It'll do up to 16 lanes. It'll do the piezos and loops and the air tubes. There's software you can run it for as long as you want. What we do is through the software we send vehicles out over whichever method you're using, whether it's the air tubes or the piezo's or the loops. And then we compare that report to what the traffic recorder has recorded. We have software that'll compare the two, and it'll give you a readout of the percentage of failure, what got wrong, and where. But that's pretty much it for the traffic recorders. There's not much more you can do with that. So. Okay. We also resell AEMC products. They make ground rod testers, megometers, and they have literally hundreds of products. The two that we sell the most of are the clamp-on ground resistance tester. The one shown here is the one that also has Bluetooth, so as you take your measurements, you can send them to your phone or any device that has Bluetooth, so that you can keep all of your recordings. And the megometer, which we include in the hilt kit. That's for testing the wire insulation. If you come across any of the AEMC products that you are interested in, give us a call with a model number and we can get a price for you. As I said, they literally have hundreds of products, so we don't have a price list of everything, and these are the only two devices we have on our web store and our website. But if there is anything else you need, we can certainly get you pricing on that. The PCMT 8000 and the ACMT 5000, as I said before, are the flagship products. And if you are not currently testing, that's where you should start. That would be the most important thing to get done as far as liability goes. Now, you probably want to test your ground resistance as well, because that's for the entire cabinet. But yeah, you would want to start there. The 8000 is the latest model in our current line. The only other model that we currently repair and calibrate is the PCMT 2600, which was the previous model before the 8000. Earlier this year, we announced that as of January 1st of 2024, we will end repair and calibration services for the PCMT 2600 model. There's a couple problems with it. It was developed so long ago that it only works with up to Windows 8. Windows has ended support of Windows 7. So if your agency is forcing you to upgrade your computers at some point and won't let you keep an older computer to use with the 2600 model, you may be in a situation where you'll need to upgrade to the 8000. The other problem is just that the electronics in the 2600 are getting more difficult to find. As products age, it gets more and more difficult to find repair parts. As of 2024, the 2600 model will be 20 years old. So most of the electronics in there are based on 20-year-old technology, and things move on and manufacturers move on, and it gets harder to get certain components. We have any tester that comes in for calibration of the 2600 model. We do send back with a sticker on the front, a stop sign shaped sticker that has the date on it for the end of service. We also send back a information package for the PCMT 8000 model. Anyone who is not sending their tester in for regular calibration, I am trying before the end of this year, I would like to send a physical mailing to them with the sticker and all the information to try to get everybody up to speed on that. we like to try to get the message out earlier because I know that a lot of budgets aren't that easy to work in, especially with these kind of $10,000 purchases. We've also added a note to the calibration reminder emails that go out automatically for the 2600 model. So hopefully everybody will be aware of that. The other thing I'd like to talk about, just because it's somewhat, is the
I think we might have lost you there.
one is at the, hello, can you hear me?
We can now. Thank you, Ben. A little audio issue.
Hello?
There. We can hear you. Thank you. No, we can.
Okay, sorry.
Well, no. Technology.
Okay. Okay, the CMU tester for the ATC cabinets will do both the high voltage and low voltage versions of the CMU. The switch pack tester, the ASPT 5300, will only do the high voltage version. The reason for that is currently, as we are aware, the vast number of cabinets that are currently in use are high voltage. Probably better than 90% of them are high voltage. If there's a demand for a low voltage switch pack tester, we will likely develop one later. Because it's low voltage and because of the way the switch pack works, we may even be able to make it a handheld device. We did not combine the CMU tester and the switch pack tester into one device because, for one, you would have a very large object, and if you had a low voltage cabinet, we would be forcing you to buy a switch pack tester that you couldn't use. If you had them both in one device anyway, if one device had a problem, you would have to send the whole thing to us, and you wouldn't be able to do any testing at all. And again, I'd like to touch on the importance of the switch pack. And I know it's and I've had this in my head as well. Load switches in NEMA cabinets and Caltrans cabinets really aren't that important as far as the cost of the goods. They're usually throwaway devices. Nobody wants to repair a load switch. It's just not worth it. Typically, that seems to be the headspace most people are in. When you move into the ATC cabinet, it takes a little bit of change in thinking to realize that that thing is also responsible for the channel voltages, and that's a very important part of the operation of the cabinet as far as keeping the signals from failing to display properly. And the last thing I wanted to talk about was calibration. We kind of touched on this before. We have an automated system where we will send you an email about 1 month before your tester is due for calibration. And if you do want to send it in for calibration, we will need a PO or a form of payment. You can send it in through Western Systems, but it does have to come back to ATSI in Athens, Ohio. This is the only place where we can do the calibration. We don't have satellite offices or anything like that. We need a PO number. If you need it expedited, please do your best to let us know that. We recently changed our boxes sometime last year. When you send your tester in for service, we'll send it back in a new box. The new boxes have a checkbox on it with the for expedited service, so we can see that when it comes in. Because if you were to fill out some paperwork and put it in with the tester, saying, "Hey, I want this expedited on a 5-day turnaround," it may sit in our warehouse for 2 weeks before it gets open and before we see that paper. So it's important to let us know prior, either by contacting us or marking the outside of the box or writing on the outside of the box or something like that. Our colder months are longer turnaround times for calibration. So if you want to get your tester back sooner, typically in the summer we were around 2 weeks. In the colder months, in the fall and through the winter into the spring, it goes out to 4 weeks or more, just because a lot of people are, it's cold outside, they're not testing, so they send their tester in. So you may want to keep that in mind. Being in California, the summer is a better time to be sending your tester to us. When we ship the tester new, most of our testers have form-fitting foam that we ship them in. We do recommend that you keep that foam so that when you need to send it back for calibration, you can reuse it. And the reason for that is UPS will not insure any damages unless the entire thing is surrounded with at least 2 inches of packing material. So, and I think that's all I have. And I think I need to turn it back over to Kenneth.
Sorry, I was muted. Thanks, Ben. I appreciate that. At this point, we're going to go ahead and turn this over to any questions. Connor, have any questions come across?
Yeah, thank you, Kenneth and Ben. So we'll get going on the Q&A process. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to use the chat feature within your GoToWebinar toolbar to ask them. But we did have a handful actually come in during the presentation, so we can dive right into those. First up is, why do so many of your products require yearly calibration?
Okay. The reason we want to get the testers back for calibration is so that we can verify that it's still working correctly. Things can float out of tolerance, and it's not usual that happens. It's more unusual, but it gives us a way to verify that the tester is working correctly. And there's a chain involved with this. The components that we make the testers with, the manufacturer of those components sometimes tell you, hey, you should check this component yearly to make sure it's still working properly. So when we put it in our tester, we have to carry that on, so that the chain goes unbroken, and then that goes on to the customer, sending it back to us. And we do have, if you would like a letter, we do have a letter that talks about why you should calibrate, and we can send that to you, no problem. You can contact us or Western Systems, and we can get that to you if you need something to pass on to a supervisor. So.
Great. We have another question for you, Ben. It's from John, and John says, do you guys sell a battery tester?
No, we get that request once in a while. The reason we don't is just because there are so many out there. We're a small company. We're not really built to compete with products that are already out there. We don't really have the financial means to buy components at enough volume to get prices down. So we tend to stick with the stuff that's hard to do. But there are many other battery testers out there. Like I said, AEMC offers some stuff. But other than that, you know, there's many other manufacturers out there. So that's just something we haven't really needed to delve into.
All right, and then Jacob's got a question for you. He says, what is the typical lifespan of your products?
Most customers keep the conflict monitor testers anywhere from 8 to 10 years. There are some outliers. We've had some people use them for the full 20 years. The PCMT 2600 as of 2024, it'll be 20 years old. The previous model, the 2500, that was in service for 20 years. And some of our other products, because like let's say the surge suppressor tester, it's not testing a device that's critical as far as liability in the cabinet, and you know, you may keep that for 30 years. But typically the flagship, the PCMT is usually 8 to 10 years.
Great. Looks like the last question here for you is, what type of customer support do you offer, and also do you offer product training?
Yes, we do offer product training, but it's only on the conflict monitor tester, the PCMT 8000. We're in the future, we plan to have one for the ACMT 5000 as well. For the PCMT 8000, we have a website you can go to. Anybody can go there and view the videos. After you view the videos, you have the option of taking a test. If you pass the test, it's a 25-question test, or excuse me, no, I think it's a 20-question test. If you pass the test, we'll send you a certificate. If you're an IMSA member, we'll submit your IMSA number to them for the TARP points or continuing education credits. And for the other products, mostly there's pretty simple. The product manual usually pretty much cover how to operate those testers. There's not a whole lot involved in most stuff. Most of it's you plug it in and hit a button and it just runs the tests. With the conflict monitors, there's many options as far as timings and flashing yellow arrow and all that kind of stuff. So those are more complicated. So we do have it for those, but not the others. As far as customer support, we're here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 Eastern time. We're always available, you know, through email and phone support. You know, we've been known since I've been working here that it's always we never let a problem go away. We will work on it until it gets fixed, even if it's the most bizarre thing you've ever seen, which we've seen a few really bizarre things that took a while to figure out. But we never leave you hanging. We will always get the problem solved.
Great.
Oh, and
well,
we also have. I'm sorry. We also have a. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I was going to say on our website we do have a live chat available, which just started I think mid last year. So if you need to contact us that way, you can as well. So.
Awesome. That's great. That's all the questions that we got today. So thank you, Ben. Thank you, Kenneth. And thanks everyone for jumping on today's webinar. We look forward to seeing you on the next one. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.